Hello, folks of the internet. On behalf of Sonic Perspectives, I am Nick Andrews, coming out of media retirement to interview this man for the first time since 2013, the amazing Ross Jennings. Welcome, Ross.
Wow, has it been that long?
It has been that long since I've interviewed you. I've
Yeah,
spoke to you
crazy.
since then, but
Well, I know that, yeah.
to give a little background, you are a founding member of Haken, a founding member of Novena, as can be seen on your shirt.
Mm-hmm.
And in the
Very
past
good.
few years, you've appeared on a Star One album, did an album with Neal Morse and Nick DiVirgilio, and put out your first solo album. On top of all that, though, let's start with the important stuff. Your lovely wife just gave birth to your second child a few weeks ago. Tell us how fatherhood has been for you.
2 weeks old. I now have two children under the age of two.
That's got to be
And
fun.
needless to say, you can probably see the bags under my eyes. But it's cool. It's such a beautiful thing. I'm so proud to be a dad, and yeah, I just don't know how I've been able to have free time in the past. Like, 'cause I don't have it now. That's for sure.
That certainly hasn't been
How did I spend it?
exactly. What has there been anything surprising for you? Anything different than what you expected?
Nah, man, it's all good. But it's just like these days I can't get through a whole watching a whole movie or anything like that, you know. It's just like I have to live my life in small fragments.
Yes. Well, there
And
will be a point where you get through full movies because I have friends with kids. I'm not a kid person myself, but let me tell you, in a couple of years, you'll get through a movie, but it's going to be the same Disney movie every day of the week, from what
well,
I
that's it.
understand.
That's it. Can't wait.
All right. Well, I suppose we should touch on another subject. Come March 3rd, Haken will be releasing their seventh album, Fauna. Now, Peter Jones was your original keyboard player, but he left before Aquarius was recorded. So this is
Mhm.
going to be his first album with the band as a full-time member. Tell me a little bit about, I know we're going way back here. Tell me a little bit about what you remember about Pete way back then and what it's been like working with him now.
Yeah, I mean, he's always been an amazing player in my mind. You know, like it was such a sad thing to lose him to education, I suppose. Um, but you know, he had his reasons to follow an academic route, and fair play. But the great thing was he remained really close friends of the band like throughout, and was so supportive. And you know, he'd come to all the London shows, and like we'd hang out. And it's cool. So we remained friends ever since. And but yeah, it was fun doing shows back then with him and small little local clubs in London and stuff like that. And it's we've just done our first tour with him on keys with on the Symphony X run in the US. And you know, it was like just having an old friend back again. It was such a great time, really. The spirit of the band just lifted up a notch. And yeah, it's great to have him back.
Does he ever pull the because now he is a literal doctor? Does he ever pull that card when there's like an argument in the band? Well, as a doctor, this is what
He should use that more often, honestly. What's funny is that
um
he's Dr. Jones, and that's something that will never be lost on him.
I think from your perspective, as a vocalist, more than I think any other member of a typical rock band, some frontmen are just there to show up and sing songs, and some literally write all the music and are the face of the bands really, and the entire soul of the bands. I think with Haken, it's definitely more collaborative now, and somewhere
Oh yeah.
in between. What is your typical writing process for like Fauna? Where do you see your biggest contributions come into that?
Certainly in the vocal melody department. I mean, that's my wheelhouse. A lot of the details rhythmically and everything like that, riffs come from the people who are playing those parts. But we're all welcome to like make suggestions on song structures, and if there's something that really we don't like, there's no harm for any of us to speak up and speak our minds and shape things together as a band, you know. And we got the opportunity to do that more than ever on this particular record. Allocating a solid couple of weeks. I guess it was this time last year. We rented out. We got an Airbnb a mansion basically, and all lived together for a couple of weeks, and focused just every minute of every day, just focusing on each song, the song structures and the vocal melodies, and it really helped to. Even though this record is super eclectic, it has been able to unify that album, put a timestamp on it. Yeah. So yeah, collaborative is the key word here. It really has been.
Okay. Now, you talked about getting together and tying everything together. One thing that definitely ties the new album together is its theme. Everything
Mhm.
is tied to an animal. And I would say Haken in general, be it a theme, a concept, a loose story, whatever the case may be, there always seems to be some underlying thread throughout the album, one way or another. Is there a reason that you always seem to do that? Do you guys like having something to tie it to? Are we going to see a Haken album at some point that's just 8 songs that have nothing to do with one another?
I mean, initially I thought that maybe this would be that album, but I don't know. There's something in us that compels us to um, ensure that everything that's written into this bracket of time falls under an umbrella that can be identified, and that's in this case was looking into the animal kingdom and seeing what aspects of the animal kingdom interested us and what they might say about humanity, and that was the theme we went with in the end, even though we sort of were intentionally approaching this record as each song should stand on its own feet and be its own, have its own identity. It just so happened that as part of that, you know, everything would fall under the fauna bracket. But the key with doing that was that each song had its own spirit animal. And that was the starting point. That was how we saw each song, and each animal had its own identity and personality, and so that's how we got away with that.
Okay. Well, talking about a little bit, I have a cat that may be joining us. I'm talking a little bit
Well, we're
about
talking about animals. Come join us.
talking about animals. Come here, Ghost. The notes for the album, indicated that each song was tied to an animal, but more
Yeah.
importantly, everything related to somebody in the band. Everything was kind of taken to real life as well. With that being said, it looks like the next single is going to be Love Bite.
Mm-hmm.
Released, I think it was just announced actually February 14th, Valentine's Day. Now that is about the black widow spider that mates and then kills its mate. So please tell me, hopefully metaphorically, how the hell
Beautiful.
that fits in with somebody's real life.
No, it didn't necessarily have to fit in with us personally, like personal
Okay.
experiences, but just something that maybe that was interesting that could reflect mankind. And breakups are a thing, and maybe some people out there will relate to this, but not really. This is our tongue-in-cheek song. This is the cockroach king that was for the mountain is for fauna, um, and yeah, it's been described to me as a Toto song with Cannibal Corpse lyrics. So, hope that gets you excited if you haven't heard it yet.
Well, and people will be hearing that one
Yeah.
sooner than the rest, so they
Right.
could
All right.
keep that in mind. It's a personal favorite of mine from the album,
Oh yeah.
so
Cool.
I'm excited for everyone else to hear that and see what that thing is. The shortest on the album. It's
Yeah.
probably the most traditional single of
Maybe.
anything, and yet it's only fourth in line for actual
Yeah.
single release.
It's been really difficult to choose singles for this one, honestly.
Mhm.
No one particular track I feel represents the album, and I think that's going to be the biggest sort of shock uh, of expectations for people. If they think there's, or all the songs are going to sound like Taurus, or that's not the case.
Yeah.
So really, the full experience of the record is what you need.
And
Um, but
I think the 4 singles that you've chosen thus far are going to really demonstrate that. That's a solid chunk of the album, and they're 4 very different
oh,
songs to begin with.
exactly. And there's so much more to unpack. So
Yeah.
these things are necessary for marketing, and it's a beautiful thing. And I hope that we make some new fans from these singles. But really, it invites you into this broader sound spectrum that we have on this one.
Yeah. And the one thing I will say about the singles thus far compared to the rest of the album is I think with the four different singles, once we do have Love Bite out, there's going to be that wide range of music that's going to be on display through the singles, but you still got looking over here, 8 minutes and change, 8 minutes and change, and 11 minutes and change. Yep. By far three of the chunkiest, longest songs of the album that are going to appeal to, kind of your more typical prog fan. Those big meaty bits are still there for everybody.
Oh, 100%. 100%. Yeah.
Assuming Elephants don't never forget isn't the single after Love,
no,
which I doubt.
Well, we talked about it, and I think after some discussions with the label, they generally speaking, they want singles to be shorter and accessible, and that's the way we've gone with it. But yeah, I think the best is still yet to come, honestly.
Yeah, very good. Now, of course, after the album releases, or actually before the album releases, you're going to be embarking on the Islands in Limbo tour through Europe with Between the Buried and Me, and then you're going to be doing your first true solo headlining North American tour since I think the 10th anniversary tour.
Sounds about right. Yeah.
Yeah. You had that recent run you had said with Symphony X and an appearance on Cruise to the Edge. Yep. Now that we're kind of through the worst of the pandemic, hopefully, tell me about the changes that you've seen already when you're on tour and what you think is going to change in your touring landscape going forward because of that.
Yeah, we still felt like on that Symphony X run last year that there was some trepidation still out there. People are being more careful with their money and what gigs they go to, what they spend their money on. So I think that was reflected in some ticket sales in some areas. It was generally a well-received tour, and most of those shows were packed out. But you still got the sense that it could have been bigger, and there could have been more. There could have been more people there. But that's looking forward, and we are seeing some good ticket sales on our European shows popping up, and I think with the excitement around the new album and people feeling a little bit more relaxed about going to shows, I think we're looking in a very positive way about the year ahead. And I'm excited to play all these new songs and the Virus ones that we haven't played as well, because they turned out to be great live tracks. We thought when we aired those last year. So
I mean, I think timing plays an important bit into it too, because by the time the pandemic happened, you guys had already fully toured. You had expanded from a couple of shows on the Mountain Restoration tour, technically, to eventually getting through the whole country. You've expanded through Europe, and even, I think the show in India and things like that. If the pandemic hits you guys a few years earlier, along with Brexit, I guess, I mean, I think you could see a scenario where Haken really never gets the ability to take off internationally like they did.
Yeah, I mean, you never know with these things, really.
Yeah,
it's the roll of the dice.
Yeah,
and that's such as life,
Yeah,
but keep a positive spin on everything. Even though there were some setbacks in the last few years, I'm feeling really positive about the way forward. And and with Pete returning to the band, like it's all positive in our minds, really. So.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that a little bit. Positive and looking forward. I think it's fair to say that, especially relative to the genre and being a little bit more of a niche, is that you guys have managed to grow and grow toward more of the globe. With Fauna and albums and tours moving forward, what is success in your mind? What would you classify as, Haken making it to that next level, or just being better, I don't want to say from a business standpoint, but just where you guys are able to even better support yourselves with Haken and really make a go of it?
Well, this is it, because I mean, unfortunately with these things, you do have to kind of look at the business aspect. And it is sustainable as it is for now, but we're all still teaching on the side, and have side hustles, so to speak, to bring in extra cash for our personal lives, to make this sustainable. So I mean, that's why we fully appreciate that whenever we go out the fans that come and buy VIP tickets and spend money on merch. It really helps us able to continue to do this, and because it could be taken away from us in a second. Not to be morbid, but yes, I mean, absolutely. This is we're playing the long game, and I think we'd like to see ourselves in a position where we are hitting arenas eventually and playing to bigger audiences. We'd love to see that popularity grow. I'm not going to lie. I'm not thriving off it necessarily as in finances or numbers of people, but yeah, it's that's the goal for any band, isn't it? Really, just to grow and grow and get bigger and bigger, and but not lose the reason why we did it in the first place either.
Exactly.
It doesn't have to be your creative, and that's the way we intend for it to continue to go.
Yeah, I think a lot of people lose sight of the other side of the coin was you don't have to search for that success, but the more you have it, the more you can freely do and have the ability to do the things that you want to do, which is at the end of the day what the fans want too.
Yeah, and I think Fauna though is further proof that we're not resting on our laurels and producing the same stuff. We're still like trying to be obscure and creative and all that as well. So, hopefully it'll work in our favor. That's really
Well, let me ask you. We'll hopefully get back to Fauna if we get a chance here. But I do want to ask you about some of the other stuff that you've been doing over the last couple of years as well.
Okay.
Most notably, this little guy here,
you have a copy.
Solo album. I thought it was truly fantastic and a step away very much from Novena. I almost called it. I don't even know what I almost said. And Haken. But in any case, was that just you being natural, or was that you saying, I really want to do something that's not going to sound like my other two bands?
A bit of both, I would say. Like,
okay.
I consciously didn't want to make prog metal for a while. That I was just a bit tired of how engineered all that is, and how much I wanted just to explore the singer-songwriter side of me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So instead of the songs being created on a computer, I wanted just to be sitting in my room strumming and coming up with the tunes that way.
Yeah.
And that's really the difference.
And maybe that's why it spoke to me. I know it may sound odd coming from me. You probably know it than a lot of the people just randomly watching this, but frankly, your solo album is much more down my alley than what Haken traditionally is for me. Haken is kind of an outlier for me as far as kind of what I enjoy and how I enjoy music to be approached. They just hit that mark where I obviously still really love them, but I get your soul album, and that just was one of those immediate this is what I love. I really did enjoy that.
I think the way I've described it to people is that the solo stuff and the stuff I've done with Neal and the Troika, that stuff, is like that's more music from the heart as opposed to music from the head. That makes sense. Yeah, so
it does. It does. I understand, and there's neither is wrong. Let me clarify that, but it's
totally good. Like, in terms of the intention, like the Haken music is incredible, and like I'll be honest, like I couldn't create that stuff on my own. that does involve a team of really elite musicians, and
you need like 23 strings in the band, and keyboards,
and it's difficult to make. That's the Haken stuff, and all the more so like rewarding when it's completed. We're so proud of what we do.
Yeah.
So and to go out and perform that stuff as well, like it's so thrilling. But yeah, just because of the time, the pandemic and getting the chance to step away and rethink things a little bit, and have a deeper thought about what I'd want my solo work to be and represent, and that was really it. It was just I wanted it to be honest and really just something that spoke to people from the soul, rather than worrying about what time signatures things were and how how many different polyrhythms I could get in there. Well, it wasn't important to me on this record, in this particular.
I will say that I think you really described that perfectly. Like I say, the difference and what to expect, and anybody who's obviously everyone listening to this should pick up Fauna on March 3rd. But if you don't have it already, you should also add to your cart from whatever retailer you're getting it from. Shadow of My Future Self from Ross Jennings. I really, duly believe
Oh,
that. So
bless you.
fantastic stuff there. One of the other things that you did, and many things you did over the last couple of years, you worked with Arjen Lucassen, one of my absolute favorite composers, which can,
Yeah, I can see.
even be seen in the back here. I'll be making another trip to the Netherlands in September, of course.
Yes.
But what was it like working with him? How did he approach you? What was that process like?
So I think Haken had been on his radar for a little while. We'd been our names been buzzing around his circles, and obviously this he had this song which was kind of proggy, and I think it was the perfect fit really that he asked me to perform on this track. I know that Mike Mills from Towhider, who I duet with, is a super Haken fan as well. So he was really excited to work on this track with me as well. Sadly, like I know with most of his work, like he usually flies his singers out to his location
Mhm.
and works from there. But because of the time we were in, it all had to be done remotely. So
Yeah.
I recorded from home and sent him what I'd done, and he really didn't have much to say. Like so he didn't need me to redo anything. Um,
Oh,
he was
that's high
super happy.
praise from him. He always
Yeah,
tends to see a little bit of a taskmaster. So
he was super happy with what I brought to the table, and I think there was like maybe one or two lines where he just wanted a bit more drama and a bit more sort of, I guess, theater,
yeah,
so to speak, in like into the performance. But that was it really. It was not much else, and the result was great. And what an honor to be on one of his albums,
yeah.
and with some sort of hope, he'll invite me back to do an Aryan one at some point, but we'll see.
That would be amazing. And I'm happy to hear too that Michael Mills is a Haken fan. He's been just one of the most uber talented individuals I've seen
Oh my
come
goodness,
up in
yeah,
the last 5 years or so.
absolutely insane talent. Yeah, I mean,
Um,
people should know more about him.
yeah. I know we probably are getting close to time here, so let me see. One thing I do want to ask you about, I'm going to go back to Fauna here. One thing that fans haven't heard yet, Beneath the White Rainbow.
Yeah,
You cover some new ground all throughout the album, but on that in that song in particular, there's an effect-laden vocal section. I'm sure you
yeah, of
know what I'm talking about. Different
course.
from any of the growls or anything you've done previously. Tell me a little bit about how that came about, how you did it, and how you think that's going to be received.
Yeah, I'm not sure of the origins of that idea, to be honest with you. I think it was just something we were just having fun with, cranking up the gain on the microphone and shouting some stuff through it. It just sounded like it was the right thing for that part of the song.
Okay.
These things don't always have a master plan, behind them. They're just like, whoa, that sounded
Wow.
weird. Let's do that again, like that kind of vibe. So most of the Fauna vocal melodies were performed on the demos without any lyrics. So it was me just shouting vowel sounds, and later on we'd formulate what words they'd be. But yeah, it was just a kind of effect that was appealing to our ear at the time, and no regrets. But well, I'll let you know once we've done that one live if I have any regrets.
Well, there
But
you
there's a
have it, folks. Beneath the White Rainbow will be performed live at some point. Spoiler
yeah,
alert.
I'm sure it will. I'm sure it will. And but that's not the only moment on the record. Like I wanted to try a few new things across the board. Yeah, just to keep challenging myself, I guess.
Hmm.
Experimenting. Yeah. So like the verse in Alphabet of Me is another example. This is this fast, semi-rapped, semi-sung verse. Um,
Yeah.
it was very fast paced, which was a different style for me. But yeah, fun to do.
All right. Well, like I say, I know that you have other interviews today, but anything else that you want to say about the new record again? Fauna, March 3rd via Inside Out. Anything else we should know about that or the upcoming tours?
Yeah, just there's one thing that people keep missing out on. I like to draw attention to is the artwork. Like it's probably the most. Oh, we probably can't see it in this.
Oh yeah, it's
Never mind.
blurred,
It's
but look
blurred.
at Ross,
Okay.
there. Look at
But I'm
how
in
I already
focus.
have the vinyl in my hand.
But we've just got our copies. So the artwork's created by Dan Goldsworthy, who also did Charlie's solo album, Tiktalika.
Yeah.
And yeah, we love that and sort of wanted to use him for this. And just I feel like it represents the density and the eclecticness of eclecticness. Is that right? Oh. The of the record and the music, and I think he does an amazing job. And it just reminds me of those kind of 80s prog records and those Iron Maiden covers from the 80s.
Oh
That's
yeah.
and that was the kind of approach we wanted to go for this time around. Something hand painted and detailed and loads of Easter eggs. So fans of physical media who want to sort of find all the hidden messages, this is for you.
And that brings up two good final closing points. All the singles out there have amazing artwork as well.
True. That's
So definitely,
same artist. Yeah.
yep.
Yeah.
So definitely check out all the various single artworks when you're listening to those. And also, as mentioned, Charlie Griffiths has a solo album out, very much in the same vein of Ross, in that different from Haken, but
Mm.
still absolutely stunning. Another
Yeah.
fantastic album. So make sure you
Oh
check
yeah.
out all those solo works. And wait, here we go. The last animal in the interview. Ghost has come by.
Yeah, if there's a sequel, there'll be one for one for you.
He'll be on the next album. So,
Yeah.
Ross, thank you very much for your time. I wish you, as always, all the success on the new album and the new tour. I may come see you out on the road. It's possible that that happens. We'll
I'm
see.
sure I'll be seeing you on the front row as per usual. And yeah, we'll be in the States across May, so please come out. Anyone listening.
All right. Well, Ross, thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you so much. Take care.